Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I plan to read in September. So August was such a great reading month for me. I read so many books and I planned it out pretty well, and I actually followed my TBR really well last month. But this month I just have a feeling is going to be more of like a go with the flow kind of month, mood reading month. So I've set out a tentative TBR, but there are a couple of books that I definitely want to get to this month. And I know October and November are going to be very strict TBR months because there's a lot of new releases coming out that I'm really excited for. September is the in-between month that I'm just kind of going to let it go wherever it wants to. But these are the books that I'm hoping to read. Before we get into my TBR though, I just want to say thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community with classes in all different kinds of interests, from design to business, photography, and writing. I've been using them all summer. I love their classes. I find them super helpful to brush up on a skill that you already have or to learn something new. A membership gives you unlimited access to their thousands and thousands of classes. So if you want to give them a try and join the 7 million creators already using Skillshare, I have a link down below in my description that you can click to get 2 months for free. But other than that, let's just get straight into my TBR for the month of September. So the first book that I have to talk about is our book club pick for September. I run a book club over on my Patreon page, so I'll have the link down below in the description if you want to go learn more about that. We have a live show at the end of every month to discuss our book club pick, obviously. And this month we chose Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This book I feel like has been everywhere lately. Everyone I know has read it and loved it. I've heard nothing but positive reviews for it. So this is a young adult fantasy that follows our main character Elizabeth, who wants to become a warden of this library, which has these grimoires that literally turn into monsters if they're provoked. I know there's a romance in here. That's what I hear everyone talking about. Everyone loves the romance in this book. One of the most dangerous grimoires in the library gets loose, and Elizabeth is a suspect, I think. So this has magic and books and romance. That's all I really need to know about this. It sounds really, really cool. I know she has another really popular book, but I actually haven't read that yet, so this will be my first introduction to her writing. So hopefully I enjoy this one. I'm really excited for it. The second book I have on my TBR is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kavanaugh. I've actually already started this one. I got the ebook from my library, and this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and our main character has cerebral palsy, and I've heard the representation in here is awesome for that, so that's really good to know. I think I'm only 13% of the way through the ebook, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I haven't actually read fairy tale retelling in what feels like a really long time, and I typically like them, so I'm definitely excited for this one. And this is, again, something that I've heard pretty much nothing but really good reviews for. The next book I have on my TBR is a recent addition, and that is The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. I hadn't planned to read this book, but I was at the used bookstore the other day and I saw it. I was with my mom, and my mom was like, we should get that. Funny story about that. I started reading Stephanie Meyer's Twilight series when I was in 6th grade and I was 12 years old. And so my mom, being the strict parent that she was, wanted to make sure that the books that her child was reading were appropriate. And so she read all of the books with me to make sure I wasn't reading something that she didn't approve of. And after Twilight, I got super into reading, and so I was reading a ton of other books. So she was reading all of the books that I was reading to make sure they were appropriate. But I think she secretly just started to really like young adult books, and that was her excuse. So growing up, she and I read all of the same books is my point. And she really liked Stephanie Meyer. She won't tell you that she did, but she did. She went on to read The Host and stuff even before I did. And so when she saw this book, it was her idea to pick it up, and I was like, all right, whatever. I got some store credit. We don't even have to buy it. Let's get it. And it was only $6. So like, I don't know much about this. I think it's an adult thriller. It's about an ex-agent who's on the run from her former employers. She used to work for the US government, and so now she's basically on the run. She never stays in one place for too long, and the people that she used to work for want her dead for some reason. I think because she had access to secrets and stuff. And of course there's a romance in here, so I'm excited to give this a try. I have the physical book, and then I also saw that the audiobook was available from my library, so it's a bit of a hefty one, but I haven't read a Stephanie Meyer book in so long, and I've always wondered how I would feel about them now if I were to reread them, so I'm gonna see how I feel about her writing now. Next on my TBR, I think, was on one of my TBRs a couple of months ago. Can't really remember, but I've been meaning to get to this book, and that is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. I'm really looking forward to the third book in the Cruel Prince series, which is coming out in November, so this is gonna kind of tide me over until we get that new release. I'm waiting on the audiobook from my library. I think I have like 1 more week's wait. I'm the first person in line with the hold, so hopefully I get it this month. I know this is set in the same world as the Cruel Prince series, so that's kind of cool. And it follows Hazel and her brother Ben who live in Fairfold where humans and the folk exist side by side. And there's this fairy in the woods who's encased in this glass case with horns on his head, and people like go by to look at him all the time. And the two siblings have been like making up stories about him their whole life, and then one day he wakes up. So yeah, I've heard really mixed things about this book. Some people really loved it, some people really hated it. I find that stories that have fairies in them can be hit or miss with me. Sometimes I really am not into that kind of thing, and sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. Like I really liked The Cruel Prince more than I thought I was going to. And this has also been on my TBR shelf for a very long time. I've been meaning to read it since it came out, so I'm excited to give it a try. Another book that I have on my TBR is The Wife Between Us. I have the audiobook from my library. This is a thriller. I've been in a huge thriller mood. I read a lot of thrillers last month and I really enjoyed them. And so I'm not exactly sure what this is about, but the little blurb that I read was really vague, but it made me want to read it, so I kind of want to go into it blind, only knowing this. So I'll read you the blurb. It says, when you listen to this audiobook, you will make many assumptions. You will assume you are listening to a story about a jealous ex-wife. You will assume she is obsessed with her replacement, a beautiful younger woman who is about to marry the man they both love. You will assume you know the anatomy of this tangled love triangle. Assume nothing. So I've heard pretty good reviews for this one as well. And like I said, I've just been in the mood for some thrillers lately, so I'm really looking forward to this one as well. Another audiobook that I have from my library, I've already started this one, so I'm honestly might even finish this before September starts, but it's on my TBR for this month, is Deal with the Devil by Megan March. This is a romance novel, as you could probably guess from the cover. The audiobook is only like 5 or 6 hours long, and I was looking for a new romance audiobook just to listen to because I was in the mood for it. I read a lot of romance novels last month too. I've just been in the mood for thrillers and romances. I don't really know why. And every romance novel that I found on there had a really long wait for it. And I was like, I don't want to place another hold. I just want something that I can read now. I found this and I looked it up on Goodreads, and it has a really high average rating, like over 4 stars. I don't really trust the average rating on Goodreads anymore. I've been burned by that assumption too many times. So this book could go either way. Let's be real. I'm like a third of the way through it right now, and we'll see. It's about this girl whose sister got herself in really bad trouble playing poker, and now the people that she tried to steal from are threatening to sell her into sex slavery unless her sister pays them $10 million. And so in order to try and get the $10 million, the sister is playing poker, trying to win the money, and she gets herself into this mess with this billionaire guy and makes a deal with him, hence the title. The writing, honestly, I'm surprised, it's pretty solid so far. I can already tell I'm probably not gonna like either of the main characters. 1, because the girl is stupid, and 2, because the guy's a douche. But I've only have like 3 hours left of the audiobook, so we're gonna finish it. We'll see how this pans out. I don't know. I have a feeling this book is going to be just straight smut without much other substance to it, but the good writing is a plus. I would be interested to pick up this author's other books to see what else she has, because I think she's a really good writer. In that same vein with the romance, I'm also planning to read A Lesson in Thorns this month. I don't know if you guys have heard about this on BookTube. Everyone I know who reads romance has been talking about this lately, and I don't really know what I'm in for with this book. I've heard some wild things about like orgies and like I don't even know. The things that I've heard about this book remind me of the movie Eyes Wide Shut. I have no idea if they're even remotely similar, but if you've seen that movie, that's what I have pictured in my head when I think about this book now. It's about this girl whose mother disappeared, so she goes to this really fancy manor where she was last seen alive to see if she can figure out what happened to her. And she's a librarian, and she gets involved with the rich dude who owns the house and his like enemy, I think. That's all I really know about it, but honestly, I'm just in a trash mood and I'm curious and I want to see what everyone's talking about. It's one of those like pop culture things. When everyone's talking about something, you just want to know what everyone's talking about. Whether it's good or bad, you just need to know for yourself. So that's how I feel about this book. And then the last book that I have on my TBR, I kind of threw it in here at the end. If I'm not going to get to any of these books, it's going to be this one. This one I don't have high hopes to get to, but if I do, that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I've had this on my TBR forever and I would love to finally give it a try. The reason why it's been on my TBR forever is because I have a feeling I'm not going to like it. I've heard really good things about it from some people not so much. So it's one of those things where people clearly either love it or hate it. And I read her other series, the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and while I can 100% appreciate how well written it was and that she's a really talented writer, they weren't for me. Just her storytelling style wasn't really for me. And so I've heard this is very similar. It's very lyrical and slow and everything. So I think I could enjoy this if I can get myself to be patient enough to push through it. So this is another one that I also picked up the audiobook for from my library in hopes of, you know, picking up the audiobook whenever I get stuck in the physical book if it's like moving too slowly or something like that. And Laini Taylor's books are always so like abstract and freaking weird that I don't know how to describe them. This book follows Laszlo Strange. He's a war orphan and a junior librarian. Why do all of these books have librarian characters? And he's been obsessed with the mythic lost city of Weep for as long as he can remember. And the city of Weep has been cut off from the rest of the world for 200 years. And it seems like he has an opportunity to go there, which has like been his dream forever. Honestly, the description of this book makes it sound like it's a freaking fever dream or something. I don't even know what this is about, but we're gonna give it a shot this month, hopefully, and we'll see if I like it. If nothing else, I can appreciate her writing because I know that her writing is really impressive. My only concern is it's gonna be really slow and I'm gonna get bored and give up on it. So we'll see. But yeah, those are all of the books that I'm hoping to read in September. Make sure to let me know down in the comment if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. I would be curious to hear your thoughts, or tell me what you're most excited to read in September. I think I'm most excited for, I don't know, because I'm like excited about the different books for completely different reasons. I'm excited about A Lesson in Thorns just to see what the heck everyone's talking about. I'm excited for Sorcery of Thorns. I just realized now how similar those two titles are because I love our monthly book club and I'm excited to discuss it with everybody. I'm excited to finally knock some things off my TBR that have been there forever. If I had to pick one, I think I actually might be the most excited for The Darkest Part of the Forest, because if it's anything like The Cruel Prince, or if my enjoyment level for it is anything like my enjoyment level for The Cruel Prince, I think I'll really enjoy it. And I really would like to find a new book to be obsessed with right now. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. If you want to follow me on any of my social media, all of those links are down below in the description. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up because it helps out my channel a lot. And other than that, I'll just see you guys in my next video very, very soon. Bye.
Everything is real, so hit me. So hit me. So hit me. First a confession. With you I feel a connection. With